What happens when a rising music star sits down for what should be a simple interview and walks into an ambush that exposes everything wrong with daytime television? In just 31 seconds, one question from Joy Behar turned a promotional appearance into the most shocking exit in talk show history. Teddy Swims walked onto the View set that morning with nothing but good intentions. He was there to talk about his music, his journey, and connect with the audience. The kind of appearance every artist dreams about. But from the moment he sat down, something felt off. The panel was fully loaded. Joy Behar sat at the center, flanked by Whoopi Goldberg, Sarah Haynes, Alyssa Farah Griffin, and Sunny Hostin. The cameras rolled, the audience applauded, and Teddy smiled that genuine smile that made millions of people fall in love with his voice in the first place. Whoopi started things off friendly enough. "Welcome to The View, Teddy. We are so excited to have you here. Your voice is absolutely incredible." "Thank you so much," Teddy replied, his southern charm on full display. "I appreciate that. This is a dream come true, being here with all of you." Sarah jumped in next, keeping the energy light. "Your song Lose Control has been everywhere. What was it like watching that blow up the way it did?" Teddy leaned forward, his eyes lighting up. "It was surreal, you know? I spent years grinding, playing small venues, posting videos online. To see people connect with the music like that, it means everything to me." The audience clapped. Everything seemed normal. But then Joy Behar cleared her throat, and the temperature in the room shifted. "So, Teddy," Joy began, her tone already carrying an edge, "I have to ask, you've got this whole look going on. The tattoos, the big beard, the whole vibe. Are you trying to be authentic, or is this just marketing?" The studio went quiet. You could feel the tension immediately. Sarah and Alyssa exchanged glances. Even Whoopi looked caught off guard. Teddy kept his composure, though his smile tightened just a bit. "I'm just being myself, Joy. I've always looked like this. The tattoos tell my story. The music comes from my heart. There's no act here." Joy laughed, but it wasn't a warm laugh. It was dismissive. "Come on now. You can't tell me someone sat you down and said, 'Hey, if you want to make it in music, you need to look a certain way.' That's how this industry works." "Actually, that's not how it worked for me at all," Teddy said, his voice still calm, but firmer now. "I got told the opposite for years. People told me I didn't look like a pop star, that I needed to lose weight, change my style, be something I'm not. I refused. I waited until someone appreciated me for who I actually am." Sunny Hostin tried to step in, sensing where this was going. "I think what makes your story so inspiring, Teddy, is exactly that authenticity. You stayed true to yourself when a lot of people would have given in to the pressure." "Thank you," Teddy said, nodding toward Sunny. "That means a lot." But Joy wasn't done. Not even close. "Well, I just think it's interesting," Joy continued, waving her hand dismissively. "Because now that you're successful, everybody wants to act like they were always authentic. But the truth is, you need the system. You needed producers. You needed social media. You needed all of it. So let's not pretend you did this all on your own." The audacity of the comment hung in the air like smoke. Teddy's jaw tightened. You could see him processing whether to let it go or address it head on. He chose honesty. "Joy, with all due respect, I never said I did it alone. I've always been grateful for everyone who supported me. My fans, my team, the platforms that gave me a chance. But what I didn't need was people telling me to be fake. I didn't need to pretend to be someone else to get here. That's the point I'm making." "Oh, here we go," Joy said, rolling her eyes dramatically. "Another artist playing the victim card. You're on national television. You've got millions of streams, and you're sitting here acting like the industry was so mean to you." Alyssa Farah Griffin jumped in, trying to defuse the situation. "Joy, I don't think that's what he's saying. I think he's just sharing his experience, which is valuable for people to hear, especially young artists who might be struggling with the same pressures. "Thank you, Alyssa," Teddy said quietly. But Joy kept going, leaning back in her chair with a smirk. "You know what I think? I think you knew exactly what you were doing. You played the underdog angle. You built a following online, and now you're acting like some kind of martyr for authenticity. But at the end of the day, you're selling a product just like everyone else." The audience stirred uncomfortably. This wasn't a conversation anymore. It was an attack. Teddy took a deep breath, his hands clasped together on the table. "Joy, I came here today to talk about my music and share my story. I didn't come here to be disrespected. I've been nothing but kind since I walked through that door. But you're sitting here twisting my words and making assumptions about who I am and what I stand for. That's not fair, and honestly, it's not right." "Oh, I'm sorry," Joy said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "I didn't realize you were so sensitive. Maybe daytime television isn't for you if you can't handle a little pushback." Whoopi tried to interject. "Joy, maybe we should—" "No, Whoopi, let me finish," Joy cut her off. "I've been doing this for decades. I've interviewed thousands of people, and I can spot someone who's selling an image from a mile away. That's all I'm saying." Teddy's patience was wearing thin. You could see it in his eyes. The calmness was giving way to frustration. Not anger, but deep, genuine frustration at being misunderstood and attacked for no reason. "You don't know me," Teddy said, his voice low but intense. "You don't know my story. You don't know what I've been through or how hard I worked to get here. And you certainly don't get to sit there and tell me who I am based on your assumptions." "I know what I see," Joy fired back, "and what I see is someone who's very good at playing a part." Sarah Haynes looked visibly uncomfortable. "I think maybe we should take a breath here and—" "No, Sarah. It's fine," Teddy interrupted, his voice still controlled, but clearly done with the conversation. "Let me be very clear. I've spent my entire life being told I wasn't good enough, wasn't thin enough, wasn't polished enough, wasn't marketable enough. I spent years posting videos online, singing in dive bars, working regular jobs just to make ends meet while chasing this dream. And when my music finally connected with people, it wasn't because I changed who I was, it was because I didn't." Joy laughed again, that same dismissive laugh. "Oh, please, save the sob story. Everyone in entertainment has a struggle story. That doesn't make you special." That was the line. The moment everything changed. Teddy stared at Joy for a long moment, and then he did something no one expected. He smiled. Not a happy smile, but a smile of someone who just realized they were wasting their time. "You know what, Joy? You're right about one thing. I don't need to sit here and justify myself to someone who clearly has no interest in hearing what I actually have to say. I came here with respect. I came here to have a conversation. But this isn't a conversation. This is you trying to tear down someone you don't even know for reasons I can't even begin to understand." The studio was dead silent. Even the audience seemed to be holding their breath. Sunny Hostin spoke up, her voice calm but firm. "Teddy, I just want to say that I think your music is beautiful, and your story is inspiring. I'm sorry this conversation went the way it did." "I appreciate that, Sunny. Really, I do," Teddy said, nodding at her. Then he looked at Alyssa and Sarah. "And thank you both for trying to keep things respectful." He turned to Whoopi. "Whoopi, you're a legend. I've always respected your work. Thank you for having me on." Whoopi nodded, clearly frustrated with how things had unfolded. "You're welcome here anytime, Teddy." And then Teddy looked directly at Joy Behar. "Joy, I hope whatever it is that makes you feel the need to belittle people you just met gets resolved. Because that's not journalism. That's not entertainment. That's just mean." Joy's face went red. "Excuse me? You don't get to come on my show, and—" "It's not your show, Joy," Teddy interrupted calmly. "It's called The View. There are 5 of you, and right now, you're the only one who seems to have a problem with me being here." He stood up, removing his microphone with steady hands. I'm going to go now, not because I'm scared or because I can't handle criticism, but because I have too much respect for myself to sit here and be treated like this. Joy stood up too, her voice rising. You can't just walk out in the middle of a show. That's unprofessional. Teddy paused, turning back to face her. You know what's unprofessional, Joy? Inviting someone onto your show and then spending the entire time attacking their character instead of having a real conversation. That's unprofessional. What I'm doing right now, this is called having self-respect. You're being ridiculous, Joy snapped. I was asking legitimate questions. No, you weren't, Teddy said, his voice still calm but firm. You were making accusations disguised as questions. There's a difference, and every single person in this room knows it. Alyssa Farrah Griffin spoke up again, her voice gentle but clear. Teddy, for what it's worth, I think you handled this with a lot of grace. Thank you, Alyssa, Teddy said. That really means something. Sarah Haynes added, Your fans are lucky to have someone who stands up for themselves like this. That takes courage. Teddy gave them both a genuine smile. I appreciate you both so much. Joy was fuming now, her arms crossed. This is absolutely absurd. We have guests walk off shows, and then they go cry to the media about how they were treated. Is that what you're going to do, Teddy? Go run to social media and play victim? Teddy stopped walking. He turned around one more time, and this time his expression was different. There was no anger, no frustration, just clarity. Joy, I don't need to play victim. Everything that just happened is on camera. People will see it and make their own judgments. I'm not going to trash you on social media. I'm not going to write some long post about how I was mistreated. I'm simply going to move on with my life and continue making music for people who actually want to hear it. He looked at the audience, many of whom were nodding in support. To anyone watching who's ever been made to feel like they're not good enough or that they need to change who they are to be accepted, please don't. The right people will appreciate you for exactly who you are. It might take time, but it's worth the wait. The audience started clapping. It began with a few people and then spread through the entire studio. Even some of the crew members were nodding in approval. Joy looked around, clearly caught off guard by the response. Oh, so now he's giving a motivational speech. How convenient. Whoopi had had enough. Joy, let him go. I'm just saying, this is all very performative, Joy continued, unwilling to let it drop. Sunny Hostin cut in, her lawyer background showing. Joy, he answered your questions. He remained respectful, even when the questions became accusatory. If anyone was being performative here, it wasn't him. Joy's mouth dropped open. Sunny, you're going to take his side? I'm not taking sides, Sunny replied calmly. I'm stating facts. He came here to promote his music and share his story. That's what guests do. And somehow, it turned into something else entirely. Teddy gave Sunny a grateful nod. Thank you for that. He started walking toward the exit again, and this time Joy's voice cracked with frustration. You know what? Fine. Leave. We don't need you here anyway. We've had much bigger stars on this show who actually knew how to handle a real interview. Teddy stopped at the edge of the stage. He didn't turn around this time. He just spoke, his voice carrying across the studio. Joy, the difference between a real interview and what just happened is that a real interview involves listening. It involves curiosity. It involves respect. What just happened was you deciding who I was before I even sat down, and then trying to prove yourself right, no matter what I said. That's not an interview. That's an ambush. And with that, Teddy Swims walked off. The view stage. The cameras kept rolling. The audience was still clapping. Sarah and Alyssa looked sympathetic. Sunny looked vindicated. Whoopi looked tired, and Joy Behar sat there, red-faced and silent. For maybe the first time in her career, the remaining panel members tried to move forward with the show, but the energy was completely off. Whoopi attempted to transition to the next segment. Well, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. But before they could cut to commercial, Joy couldn't help herself. I still think he completely overreacted. I was just asking questions. Alyssa turned to her, something she rarely did in such a direct way. Joy, I have to be honest. Those weren't just questions. They were judgments. And he had every right to defend himself. Oh, come on, Alyssa, Joy said dismissively. Don't tell me you're buying into his whole act. It's not an act, Joy, Sarah chimed in, her usual sunny demeanor replaced with something more serious. That man sat here and tried to have a genuine conversation, and you kept pushing and pushing until he had no choice but to leave. Joy looked around the table, clearly shocked that her co-hosts weren't backing her up. I cannot believe you're all ganging up on me right now. Nobody's ganging up on you, Whoopi said firmly. But you need to hear this. That was not okay. That young man came here in good faith, and it became hostile for no reason. Hostile? Joy repeated, her voice rising. I was doing my job. I was asking tough questions. That's what journalists do. There's a difference between tough questions and disrespectful accusations, Sunny said, her legal training evident in how she chose her words. You questioned his authenticity, his integrity, and his motives without any evidence. That's not journalism. That's just being unnecessarily harsh. Joy threw her hands up. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. The show went to commercial, but backstage, the fallout was just beginning. Producers rushed around, trying to figure out how to handle what just happened. Teddy Swims was already in his dressing room, gathering his things, ready to leave the building entirely. One of the producers knocked on his door. Teddy, I am so sorry about what happened out there. That's not how we wanted this to go. Teddy looked at her with kind eyes, even after everything. I appreciate that. Really. But I think it's best if I just head out. Is there anything we can do? The producer asked, genuinely concerned. Just make sure the audience knows that I didn't come here looking for a fight, Teddy said softly. I came here to share my music and my story. That's it. Back on set, as the commercial break continued, the tension at the table was thick. Joy sat with her arms crossed, refusing to make eye contact with anyone. Sarah looked like she wanted to say something, but wasn't sure how. Alyssa was checking her phone, probably already seeing social media reactions in real time. Sunny was writing notes, her legal mind already thinking through the implications. And Whoopi just looked exhausted. When they came back from commercial, Whoopi addressed the audience directly. Well, that was certainly unexpected. We want to be clear that we invited Teddy Swims here today because we genuinely love his music and wanted to hear his story. Sometimes conversations on live television don't go the way we plan. Joy jumped in, unable to stay quiet. I want to say that I was simply doing what I always do, which is ask questions that maybe others won't ask. If he couldn't handle that, then maybe live television isn't the right format for him. The audience response was mixed. Some people clapped, but it was noticeably less enthusiastic than before. Others sat in silence, clearly uncomfortable with Joy's continued defensiveness. Alyssa spoke carefully, knowing she was on live television, but feeling compelled to say something. I think we all have different styles of interviewing. What matters is that we treat our guests with respect, even when we're asking difficult questions. And I think, upon reflection, we could have done better today. Speak for yourself, Joy muttered, but her microphone picked it up. Whoopi gave Joy a look that could have frozen fire. Joy, I think what Alyssa is saying is that we, as a show, always want our guests to feel welcome and respected. That's our responsibility as hosts. I didn't disrespect him, Joy insisted, her voice defensive. He took everything personally when it wasn't personal. That's on him. Sunny finally spoke up, and when she did, her words were measured and precise. Joy, I'm going to say this as respectfully as I can, When someone repeatedly tells you that they feel disrespected, and multiple people at this table are telling you that the conversation crossed a line, perhaps it's worth considering that your perception of the interaction might not be the complete picture. Joy stared at Sunny, clearly not expecting such a direct statement. So you're saying I was wrong. I'm saying that impact matters more than intent, Sunny replied. You may not have intended to be disrespectful, but the impact was that a guest felt attacked and chose to leave. That's a fact. The show moved on to other topics, but the energy never recovered. Every segment felt forced. Every transition felt awkward. And Joy remained defensive and quiet for the rest of the hour, a rarity for someone who usually dominated conversations. Meanwhile, in the dressing room, Teddy was texting his manager, his team, and his friends. He wasn't angry in his messages. He wasn't plotting revenge or planning a social media tirade. He was simply letting people know what happened and that he was okay. His manager called immediately. Teddy, I just saw what happened. Are you all right? I'm fine, Teddy said, his voice calm. It was intense, but I'm fine. Do you want to put out a statement? His manager asked. No, Teddy said without hesitation. I said everything I needed to say in that room. People can watch and decide for themselves. I'm not going to add fuel to this fire. That's very mature of you, his manager said, clearly impressed. Most artists would be on social media right now going off. That's not who I am, Teddy replied. I meant what I said in there. I'm just going to keep making music and move forward. Back in the studio, as The View wrapped up for the day, the co-hosts had their usual post-show debrief, but this time it was anything but usual. Joy immediately went on the defensive. I don't understand why everyone is acting like I committed some crime, she said, gathering her notes aggressively. I ask questions. That's literally my job. Whoopi, normally patient with her co-hosts, was visibly frustrated. Joy, it's not about asking questions. It's about how you ask them and how you respond when someone tries to answer. He was being difficult, Joy insisted. He was being honest, Sarah corrected gently. There's a difference. Alyssa added, and when someone is being honest and vulnerable, our job is to meet them where they are, not challenge their entire existence. Joy shook her head. You're all being too soft. This is television. People need thick skin. Or, Sunny said, closing her notebook, we could create an environment where guests feel safe to be authentic without needing armor. That seems like a better approach. Joy grabbed her things and headed toward her dressing room, calling back, Well, I guess I'm the villain today. Wonderful. After she left, the remaining 4 co-hosts stood there in silence for a moment. That was rough, Sarah finally said. That was more than rough, Alyssa replied. That was a disaster. Whoopi sighed deeply. That young man handled himself with more grace than most people twice his age would have. And he was right about everything he said. Sunny nodded in agreement. He was, and I think people are going to see that. They were right. Within hours, clips of the interview were everywhere. Social media exploded with reactions. And overwhelmingly, people were on Teddy's side. Comments flooded in praising him for standing up for himself, for remaining calm and respectful even under attack, and for knowing when to walk away. Fans and fellow artists alike shared their support. Musicians who had experienced similar treatment on talk shows spoke out about the importance of treating guests with basic respect. People who had followed Teddy's journey from the beginning celebrated him for staying true to himself, even in an uncomfortable situation. The conversation became bigger than just one interview. It sparked discussions about how the media treats artists, about the difference between tough questions and disrespectful accusations, and about the courage it takes to walk away from toxicity, even when it's on national television. Teddy never posted a long statement. He never went on other shows to talk about what happened. He simply posted a photo of himself in the studio later that week with a caption that read, "Back to what matters. making music for you. And that was it. His streams went up. His fan base grew stronger. And the respect people had for him multiplied because he proved that you don't need to engage in drama or retaliation to make your point. Sometimes, the most powerful statement is simply refusing to participate in negativity and continuing to be who you are. The View continued on, as talk shows do. But that day, that moment, that interview became a defining example of what happens when authenticity meets entitlement. When self-respect meets dismissiveness, and when someone decides that their dignity is worth more than any platform.